All right, guys, welcome back to the Daily Close. Hope you all doing well. It's been a week since we last spoke. As you can tell from Gojo here, that facial hair is looking absolutely immaculate. We got BAS Buddha down here too. That haircut still looking fresh. And then the one and only knxqtr. He's always here with the mystical words of wisdom. So we're ready to go today. And this time I think we've got some absolutely interesting projects to talk about. Some of them are really popping up these days, so this is the definite must listen. So please listen to the end for to get all this good alpha. But before we get too far into it, always remember that this is just this is not financial advice. So just remember this is for fun. So don't don't take it as it is. Okay. So also let's not forget. Some of you guys have been watching our videos. We love the engagement. We love the watching, but also remember to give us a follow. That really helps out with the metrics. Make sure to like and subscribe, and then just hit that bell notification so that next time we put up a video, you can be the first to see it. All right. So just to jump in very quickly, and actually I'm going to share my screen because I have something cool I want to share. Just give me one quick moment. All right. So. And I'll share that there. All right, nice. So, we make videos every week, as you all know. One of our previous videos, we had quite a few views on, which again, for everyone who's in the community watching our videos, we appreciate it deeply. But one of the comments that came through was a recommendation to talk about reserve rights token. And this is as an effort to show that we do listen, we do value your comments. And we're actually going to talk about this today. And so, without further ado, I'd like to have BAS Buddha go ahead and talk about this project, and we'll share all the great details with you now.
There he is.
All right, cool. So, do you guys know about the reserve rights token? Do you guys know what that is?
I feel I'm going to find out.
Aside from me talking about it, yeah. So, all right. I've actually really been keen on this project for a while. Heard a lot about it, but this was a great opportunity for me to dive deeper into it to find how much potential it has. And I do think it's very bullish. Just like I think Eric just said, it's got a lot of potential in the Latin American region and globally. So I will dive into that just shortly. Let me just share my screen real quickly. Here we go. Okay. Here we are. So reserve rights token. Before I go into the price action, just want to share. Its mission is to become a stable coin that can't be shut down, and become a network of decentralized fiat off and on ramp. Its aim is actually to become the world's digital reserve currency. It's pretty ambitious. But I think it has the investors and the backing to actually achieve this goal. That's why I think it's pretty positive, high potential. Yeah, so reserve rights token is actually a sort of a dual concept with a reserve rights coin token itself, but also the stable coin. It's built on Ethereum, but it aims to be blockchain agnostic, so it can integrate with other blockchain in the future and become completely interoperable. Just a quick look at the actual price action. Right now, it's at 46 cents. Not 46 cents. Sorry, 4 cents, 4.6 cents. Oops, big difference. And it's recovering very well from the actual high, which was up around 11 cents back in. For the big crash back in April. So it's done already a 2x from its recent low, which was about 1.7 cents, and it's just steadily climbing higher. I'll explain how it's actually going to steadily rise. It's got good foundation in terms of its tokenomics. So looking into the actual protocol itself, the way this works is as I mentioned before, it's got sort of a dual sort of function. One is a reserve token called RSV, which is the actual stable cryptocurrency that is used. That's pegged to the US dollar as of now. It's currently pegged to the US dollar, but in its final stage, it's actually meant to get off that peg and be to combat inflation or hyperinflation. And it's basically going to get off the peg and actually be backed by other collateralized assets. And then RSR, the actual token that we would buy, the one that you'd want to buy, because this one would steadily rise, is the cryptocurrency used to facilitate the stability of the stablecoin. So I don't know if you guys have a chance. We talked about sort of a similar concept with Luna and Terra a few weeks ago. It's very similar in terms of how it uses an arbitrage function to actually maintain its peg. But before going into the actual mechanism, the reason why I believe this is actually really bullish is because it's already got an actual use case right now. It's being used in Venezuela with its reserve app. And it's also live in Colombia and Argentina, which is why our audience mentioned that it's got huge potential in Latin America. Now, the reason for this is because what they want to do is combat inflation, right? Venezuela right now, it's at 4 million? Yeah, 4 million in terms of inflation rate. You really can't. But you can see there are a few other countries in South America that actually have high inflation, some in Africa as well. So that's their aim. Their aim isn't to become just a reserve currency globally first. It's actually to combat inflation in developing countries. There's a use case already, so that's good. And just in the last week of March, this is how good it's been going. In the last week of March, Reserve was actually the #1 most downloaded finance app in Venezuela, and it surpassed about 100,000 total downloads. So the actual adoption just steadily growing in Venezuela. It's great. It's really great. And so in terms of the actual mechanism, to be honest, I feel like I could probably talk about 20 minutes on this one. It's quite quite detailed, but to simplify it, so basically in the smart contract for the reserve rights token, there's a protocol that every time the demand for the stablecoin RSV rises or declines, the peg, obviously sort of shifts, right? Very, very small, minute percentages. But when it shifts,
Sure.
the smart contract would automatically arbitrage to buy up the stablecoin to maintain the peg. And equally, RSR would actually be burned. And so it creates this deflationary aspect to the protocol. And hence the actual price of RSR is supposed to also, steadily rise to maintain its value in the circulating amount. So in short, the more that the stable coin is bought and used, the same way we'd use, Tether or USDC or DAI, and the more adoption there is, then the more RSR token is going to be burned through arbitrage and locked away, creating this deflationary system and increasing the price of the RSR token. So yes, the actual success of, or the actual price of this RSR token is contingent on the degree of adoption it can attract. But because of its actual history, its backing, and the investors, I think it's got a lot of potential. Going into the actual investor itself, here we go. So Sam Altman, these are the main investors. Sam Altman, this reserve rights is actually developed and started in Silicon Valley. Then it branched out into Latin America and Africa and so on and so forth. So Sam is the actual president of the Y Combinator, which is, that big startup hub in Silicon Valley. It's also got Coinbase backing it. Peter Thiel, which is a big name that everyone talks about, him being a co-founder of PayPal. So I'll get into, actually, there's an actual article I found about that. Both an article, but also a tweet by Reserve that basically, acknowledge that there are, partnerships with PayPal going, and that they will integrate at some point. down here. This was sent in February 27, but anyway, you can see why this is a big deal. Users can also move money in from other sources like Uphold and PayPal. We're still working on expanding our PayPal support, but stay tuned. So that's just phenomenal. Yeah, that's not even like speculation. That's just somewhere in the roadmap. Exactly. And the last one I wanted to comment on was where is it? Digital group currency, right? So this is the parent company backing parent company of Grayscale. This is another main investor, which is to say we can probably expect reserve rights to actually become another one of Grayscale's trusts and in their portfolio. So it's not in there now, but you can almost speculate that it's going to come in the near future. So that's a lot of hoping we can have for you guys. And yeah, I mean, I can honestly talk about this for ages, but just be concise. I mentioned that there's a roadmap for, where are we? Roadmap for the project. But basically there's 3 phases, and right now we're still in the actual, the second phase, which is that it's at the decentralized phase where RSV stablecoin is backed by a basket of other blockchain assets. So you have USDC, you have TUSD, and DAI, BSD, for example. So the final project phase, or final phase, is when this stablecoin is backed by a different set of assets. So think of things like commodities or even equities. So the token at that point will have its sort of own strong economy with the adoption, and it'll no longer need to be pegged to the US dollar. So this is how they're going to aim to combat inflation, right? Because what's the whole point of combating inflation if you're just being pegged to the US dollar? Because basically, you're not. if there's inflation with the US dollar in the US or the countries, then
pegged to the US inflation rate, more or less.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's the final stage. We're not there yet. Mainnet launch is it's not a fixed date, but it's after there's 2 specific conditions which are met, and that they are that there's an achievement of the product market fit and real growth in real world adoption, and then the other one is growth in the awareness of the actual project. So not a fixed date, basically. Yeah, I think, to be honest, like because we're able to get yield from, borrowing assets like reserve rights token and then kind of collateralizing that, like there's a lot of potential for this. And I really can see a lot of users wanting to use reserve rights as in different utilities, not just as a stable coin, or, using its function as a stable coin to then collateralize and get more yield. So my only concern is that because it was built in Silicon Valley, based in Silicon Valley, it's not entirely decentralized now. And I don't know how decentralized it's going to be in its final stage, right? Because we have all these big back investors. It's already on Coinbase, so that's good. But yeah, as I mentioned, final note is that this is highly contingent on how quick and how fast this token can get adopted. So in addition to Venezuela, you have Colombia, Argentina, and I believe other Latin American countries are trying to target right now. So yeah, I think it's doing great right now. It's about 4.8 cents.
Look at that chart.
Beautiful chart. That's actually a really good, almost a 2x, more than a 2x from the bottom back in May, about 198%.
Love to see it.
Like a 3x.
The 3x. All right, should invest in this. All right, that's it for me.
Oh, good, man. That's a solid project, and any kind of protocol service or good that gets even better with more people adopting it. That's the kind of asset you want to get into from a fundamental sense. So that's a good. RSR is a good project. Good shout out by Neil again. Now it's a good shout. Let's move on to the next one here. This is with knxqtr. We talk about Sushi today, right?
That's right, Sushi. So Sushi, I've been a big fan of Sushi for a long time.
Tastes good.
It's quickly becoming one of the blue chip DeFi protocols in the space. So I'm just going to go through this this quickly. Let me share my screen here. I think this is the right one.
There it is. We see it.
So yeah, just quickly on CoinGecko. So Sushi is currently trading at $13.65. That was about 11.10 maybe a week ago. So it's gone up a modest 30-40% so far, in line with the rest of the market. The current market cap is sitting at around 2.6 billion, which is I mean, in this market you could call that sort of like a mid cap. It's not really up there with like the unis and ADA and Ethereum, but it's still fairly small in terms of the big players. So it's got a lot of room to grow. So Sushi, if people who don't know about Sushi, it's a DeFi protocol, so decentralized finance protocol, which started off as a fork of Uniswap. Now, if you've used any sort of decentralized platforms before to swap, it essentially allows you to swap between ERC20 tokens mainly. And I'll talk a little bit more about the different sort of chains that they have integrated. But just to go through some of the initial details first. So like I said, Sushi's trading at around 13.7 right now. Total liquidity locked in the protocol is about 4.27 billion. So it's not like massive, but what I like about Sushi is that it's quite underrated. It's quite slept on. It's not like Aave where you have 25 billion already locked in. It's only got 4.27 billion and it's quickly growing. Total volume is 101 billion that's been traded on the platform so far. It's as I said, it's quickly growing and a lot of people are adopting it and using it more. What does Sushi provide, and how does it differ from its competitors like all these other different AMMs, automated market makers? So it's a multi-chain AMM, and that means that it doesn't only support ERC20 tokens, so on the Ethereum network, but it has a range of chains that it supports. So let me just let me explain this first, and I'll go on quickly and explain and show you the different chains that it supports. It's got lending and borrowing. That's called the Kashi. So similar to Aave, you can lend and borrow. You can collateralize certain assets and borrow and lend against that. You've got Bento Box, which is essentially allows people to develop their own dApps. You've got xSushi, which is staking. You can stake for governance rights, and you get 0.05% on all the swaps, on all the fees created on the network. And then you have the Onsen program as well, which is basically it allows you to yield farm and provide liquidity. So let's jump into the actual AMM. So I mean, it looks very, very similar to Uniswap. Again, if you've used Uniswap, this looks very, very similar. I mentioned before that it supports many different chains. It's got Ethereum, Polygon, which is previously Matic, Phantom, BSC, Huobi chain, which is Heko, XDAI, Harmony, Avalanche. So it actually supports a lot of chains. So if you wanted to trade on Avalanche, for example, you just click this, connect your MetaMask, and then away you go. You can start trading on that network, on that blockchain, which is crazy. I don't think any other AMM at the moment provides this amount of utility. Moving on to, there's another part of SushiSwap that I didn't mention, which was Miso. Miso is their IDO launchpad. So they've already launched a couple of products. It's up and running already. Very, very promising projects, actually. You might know one that I wanted to point out, which is YGG, which is Yield Guild Games, which has recently popped off because of all the earn to play and NFT gaming and all that sort of stuff. The auction token price was about 50 cents. I think it's currently trading over $7. Wow. That's one of the projects that I want to highlight. And they're going to have, they're going to have a lot more projects coming onto this. So keep an eye out for Miso, which is their IDO launchpad as well. So moving on to, why I'm so excited about Sushi for this particular part of the market cycle, the bull run, is that they have Trident coming. Trident is their new AMM, basically new automated market maker. And I'm not going to go into the details. I'll leave a link so that you can read about this in a bit more detail. But they're claiming it to be the next generation AMM. And the sort of what they're trying to do with Trident is they're separating it into 3 different prongs. Like a trident, you have 3 different ends on the trident. So the first prong is the bento box, and as I mentioned before, it allows for people to develop their apps on Sushi. It also allows for single token approval for usage across all apps. So you might have, when you're swapping tokens before, you have to approve both before actually making the trade. You only have to approve once, which saves you time and gas and money, as it says here. It also allows you to passively earn yield, which is one of they have a lot of strategies within the bento box, and the most simple one is the Sushi strategy. So even if your assets are sitting in the bento box balanced idly, you will automatically be earning yields from strategies that are applied to the vault, which is pretty cool. And I think that one is xSushi, which is 0.05% on whatever you leave in the vault. So yeah, this is the first part that they claim, and I'm really looking forward to using it. Actually, they claim to be the next generation AMM, and for it to be the most capital efficient in DeFi in existence. The second prong is they're introducing different pool types. So if you've ever provided liquidity before, or you're LPing on different protocols, usually you have to provide 50% of each asset. So let's say, for example, it's Ethereum and USDC. You have to provide 50% USDC and 50% Ethereum to provide liquidity to this. They're introducing 3 different types, 3 additional types. So the one that we know the best is the constant product pool. They're offering the hybrid pool. As I mentioned, I'm not going to go into all the technical details. The concentrated liquidity pool, and also the weighted pool. So they're taking away the 50-50, and they're allowing people to have sort of flexibility around how they provide liquidity. So if you wanted to provide like 82% Ethereum and 20% USDC, you can do that, which is basically the second prong of the Trident. And then the third prong is their routing engine. So they call it Tines. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Tines, which says here, we'll query our many pool types and consider factors such as gas costs, price impacts, and graph topology to generate the best price solution. So it's going to give you the best price. It's going to give you the cheapest cost to actually transact on it. So that's pretty cool. Also, typically on AMMs, when you're trading assets, you usually have to go through multiple different assets before you can get to the final one. For example, if you wanted to trade Sushi to AXS, you'd have to trade Sushi to wrapped ether to AXS, which the typical AMM would do this automatically for you. With the Tines routing engine, it says here, when performing a swap in the past, we were limited to these route styles, but with Tines multi-route ability, we can perform trades horizontally to minimize price impact. So that means that it will not go from Sushi to wrapped ether to Axie, but it will go straight from Sushi to Axie and vice versa, which is pretty cool. So this is coming out very, very soon, I believe in the next couple of weeks. And this is why I'm very, very bullish. And I think the chart, if you have a look at the chart, if you have time, is looking great. DeFi is a massive narrative, and I'm super bullish on Sushi. So definitely watch out. Not financial advice, but if you're interested in Sushi, please do your own research.
No doubt, no doubt. That's a good project. I mean, well, a good project. It's a wonderful. I've used it myself. I staked. I've made money on Sushi as well too. So, I mean, if you're not using it already, that's crazy. So anyone should definitely get over there and research into it, look into it further. But yeah, let me jump into my project here too. I think I got something that's gonna be, I hope, equally as interesting. But for anybody who's in the market, who looks at the news and is paying attention to things, new updates that rolled out here and there, you would have heard about Audio, which has been taking the market recently by storm. And actually, let me just show my screen here as well. When I say take the market by storm, I'm talking about back here, maybe, yeah, that's on the 16th, it's the 20th, 4 days ago. We're in Japan time, so we might be for some of our viewers in the future. However, it just absolute meteoric, absolute rise to the top. I mean, if I were to pull out our price range here, I mean, we're talking about at one point 152 up. That ain't bad at all, is it? Absolute rise to the top. I mean, if we look at Google Trends as well too, I mean, we're looking at just a big uptick as well. I mean, this is a project that's gaining some interest, and there's clear reasons why. So many of you would be asking, what is this project? I think, to put it most succinctly, it is a decentralized hosting and streaming protocol. So you can essentially create your music and upload it onto this platform, and then you're able to more securely and have more control over your content, and able to distribute it as the way you can see fit. Now, I think from a fundamental perspective, why this is so interesting is you got to think about the music industry in of itself. You know, up until now, before a long time ago, when people were making music, you have to have lots of gear, lots of people to support, and it's a big investment to actually, create music. Nowadays, people can make music in their basement, use SoundCloud, put some tracks together, mix it, get some good beats, and then can throw up some absolute heat just by a few clicks and some work behind the computer. But the problem that still remained is that, creators still had to rely on middlemen, on content providers, other kind of radio stations. And what they found is that even in 2017, and this will actually be on Audius website and a white paper as well, that albeit the music industry created 43 billion in revenue, that only 12% made its way to the artists. And that is a pretty stark number to think about, especially when you think of like big teams like NFL, where they still get the players get 49% of the profit, where NBA players get 49 to 51% of the profit. For the music industry, which we all listen to every day, only getting 12%, I guess you could say that's a bit criminal. But so, and this is brought about through, because they have to go through intermediaries, there's incomplete rights ownership of data, because they have to rely on digital service providers. They have to, there's a little transparency around the origins of the artist payouts. It's just a whole mess. And how this project aims to resolve these matters is that it helps artists directly engage and transact directly with their fans. It also, prices and earnings for participants will be more consistent, more predictable, and transparent, which would be great. Access is more democratized. It's actually free to get to use this platform, and there's to run through the ads and all the other problems that you should come up with using other platforms. And because of this success, we find that there's over 100,000 artists who are currently on this platform, over 5 million monthly users. The adoption of this is increasing rapidly. Obviously, you can go to the website here to learn more about Audius. They have some big names on here as well, deadmau5, Stafford Brothers, and more. They got big names coming here and playing. And if you want to come here and see what kind of tracks, you just all have to do is go to start listening. And right here, you can sign up, you can create your own playlists, and you can find out the music that people are making. And this all came together through its team here. Ronil and Forrest, both here, people very high-level developers themselves, had good success in the original Bitcoin and investing, made some great money, spun off a few companies, which I could send some details after through our YouTube, in the description below. But these guys came together and created this project because they have a fascination with music and they understood this problem, and they created their solution to solve this. They are backed by 17 other talented employees, and they are also their efforts are augmented by their advisors, including some big names in the market. So for all of you who might already know, one of the big news that came out that actually had a direct impact on the price action here. This was primarily due to the recent news about Audius connecting with TikTok, allowing people to immediately redistribute their music from the Audius platform onto TikTok. And for anybody who uses TikTok, you see all the new music that's created. This just gives people more avenue to be heard, to be found, and potentially to make some more money. And if we're talking about money, they do also talk about introducing audio rewards. So yes, on this platform, you can get their audio token. You can stake it, of course, to get some voting rights. And you also can receive rewards for doing so, but also your own performance of how well your music tops, because you are providing value to the platform. You will also receive money back, in various rates, $100 with audio, and it just keeps going up more and more. I can go about this forever and ever, as we always like to say, but I mean, this project, it has a lot going for it. If I were to say, it has this next vesting schedule coming up this next October, so that might impact the price to go down briefly at that point in time. But I mean, fundamentally, this solves a real problem. People are investing it very quickly, and as they get more partnerships, more adoption, the brighter the future this platform will have. So I'm absolutely bullish on it. I think it's going to go to $5 or even more. And albeit it's not financial advice, I definitely pay attention to this if I were you. But I try to be as concise as possible. That's my part. But then I'm going to hand it over to you, Gojo.
Thanks, bruv. Interesting thing about audio is that 95% of the people using it don't even know that it's crypto related. So it's a really big step to mass adoption. I think massive. Like you said, real utility there. In terms of what I want to talk about, actually, it's more about a token that we've already talked about. So let me just share my screen here really quick. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
Yeah, your audio is a little bit quiet though, Gojo.
Oh, sorry about that. Let me talk right into the mic. So if you look at what I want to talk today about is Avalanche. And I know that we covered AVAX in a previous video before, but I can't help but look at these charts because it seems to be making some massive moves recently. If you look at AVAX specifically and some of the price action, we're looking at right here, 15.6% up just today, 117.2 on the 7-day. Right now, we're sitting at about 35 USD. So really, really big moves recently. I think we all know that, when Bitcoin crashes, small cryptos crash even harder. But then when Bitcoin is on a steady uptrend, smaller cap coins with a lot of strong utility, with a good team, with some really interesting updates coming up, have a much higher chance of blowing up. So actually, I want to ask a question. Alt season, yay, nay?
Yay.
Yay.
He said every day, baby.
For now.
For now. And I think, if I want to set the climate in which we're seeing this move, because I think it makes more sense. We're talking about Bitcoin dominance here. So the drop in Bitcoin dominance recently, I think, is a big reason why we're seeing moves in coins like Avalanche going up. So just to summarize dominance, it's when coins like ADA, Solana, Doge, when they're moving up, it causes Bitcoin dominance to drop. And then when these coins, when you're making profit off of this, it spills over to the smaller market cap cryptos. So especially like the ones under the top 200. If I'm looking at the chart for Avalanche, and I'm looking at this pairing between Avalanche and USDT, what we're seeing here is a ton of volume. We're seeing a ton of volume. We're seeing this massive move up. We're also seeing, and I think predicting, a little bit more continuation on this uptrend. Really, really happy days if you managed to get in right here, who bought at the retest, which was at about 21.4 USD. If you got in here, you would have already made a move of over 50%. And what we're seeing right here, what I marked here is the actual last up candle before the massive drop. And I think what this indicates is that there's probably a lot of sellers waiting to sell at this area. So again, if you are looking to take profits, I think now is a pretty safe time to do that. Not an ideal entry for sure. What we're looking to buy is dips. You might be wondering why, and I don't want to touch on too much fundamentals since we talked about this last time, but the reason why is because there was an announcement recently for Avalanche Rush, and essentially it's 180 million liquidity mining, or it's a 180 million liquidity mining incentive, and it's supposed to attract a lot of the big DeFi applications to the platform. This includes big names like Aave. It also includes Curve. A lot of people see Avalanche as a direct rival to Ethereum, and I think a lot of traders, what they do is they tend to rotate capital out of some of these overvalued coins. If I go back to the chart here, even if I'm just looking at the stock RSI, it's clearly overvalued, overbought. So as people, traders, what they do with coins like ETH, they rotate capital out of those markets and bet on assets that they deem, which is maybe undervalued. So that's why we've seen this massive move recently. Avalanche has a ton of great clients. It's fast, it's cheap. It allows people to make tons of interesting subchains and dApps. So this is definitely a space to look out for in the short to near term future. Very bullish on Avalanche.
No, me too. I covered it last time. I'm still bullish on Avalanche too. It's an absolute project. So no, that's perfect, Gojo. Thank you. Well, now hopefully everyone who's watching this got a lot of alpha out of this. We take some time to really understand our projects and try to give it to you as compact and as concise and to the point with a lot of our descriptions here. So hopefully everyone loved it. We'll be doing this every week as always. So definitely as before, please subscribe, please comment, give us a follow, and if you really love our content, definitely hit that bell button. Don't forget, in your comments, if you feel like there's another project we could talk about or something you want us to dive a little bit deeper on, put in the comments below, as we did with Neil before. And thank you again for your comment. We will give you a shout out as well. We will talk about your project. But always remember, this is not financial advice. So please do your due diligence as you go through this crypto space. There's a lot of money that can be made, but you can also lose some money too. So do your own research. But this is the daily close. Thank you guys again, and we'll see you next week.
May the pump be with you.
Boy, be the pumpy with you.
Also with you.